My name is Lauren Sanders, and today I want you to put yourself into the shoes of a farmer during planting season. You sow a variety of different seeds like peppers, tomatoes, and cucumbers, potatoes, but what if you come back during harvest season to find that instead of your expected crops, weeds have completely taken over and choked them out? This would be very frustrating, wouldn't it? While I haven't experienced this literally in my garden, there have been times in my life where negative influences have completely taken over and stifled my positivity. Life to me is like a garden that requires careful attention and nurturing. The seeds that we choose to plant and the care that we give them can have a huge impact on the outcome. With proper care and attention, our lives can truly flourish just like a well-tended garden. Everyone has an opportunity to sow good seeds into their life, as well as to harvest them. The fruits of your harvest are determined by the seeds that you plant in your life. This year personally brings home a huge new level of responsibility, as I'm completely in charge of tending to my family's garden. While I've contributed to the gardening efforts the last few years, this year I get to take it over. I'm super eager to take on this challenge and to ensure that our garden really just flourishes under my watchful care. So, in this speech, I'm going to talk about life in the terms of it being a garden. So, it's important that we know that life is full of seasons, each with its own purpose. There are times for planting, there's times for growth, times for flourishing, and times for reaping the rewards of our hard work. This story begins with a seed. Planting seeds marks the initial stage of establishing a garden. Regardless of whether you purchase seedlings from a farmer or cultivate them on your own, everything originates from a singular seed. The seeds that were most prevalent in my life garden as a young child were sown by my parents. They planted good seed. They planted seeds of a love for God, a love for others, and a love for myself, as well as seeds of self-discipline and a passion for learning. When I became older, I had access to more influences, and various seeds found their way into the garden of my life. In the real world, gardeners are unaware that they are inadvertently planting weed seeds through various means, including like windblown seeds, waterborne seeds, and unintentional introduction through the use of like products like manure and compost, things that we think are good. Wildlife also plays a role in the spread of weed seeds, like birds and things like that. There have been plenty of moments in my life where I unintentionally planted seeds that grew into weeds, suffocating the good crops and depriving them of nutrients. During a difficult time in my life, I found myself surrounded by weeds in my metaphorical garden. These weeds represented negative forces like harmful relationships, social media, and the isolation caused by the pandemic. Over time, I've developed a deep-seated a sense of self-hatred, and it manifested in various forms of self-harm and resentment towards those around me, despite my parents sowing seeds of love and loving others. It's been a difficult journey to overcome these feelings, but I'm working towards healing and finding a way back to self-love and acceptance. Now that I've talked about the planting of seeds and whether they are good seeds or weed seeds, I will talk about about vegetative growth and what that means in this context. So, in the context of gardening, vegetative growth generally pertains to when plants are primarily focusing on developing leaves and branches. Similarly, in my personal life, dedicating time to self-love can be seen as a form of vegetative growth. One way that I practice growing is by investing in myself, fertilizing my goals and my dreams in life by creating vision boards and attempting to practice mindfulness daily. I'm an avid reader, and I began to read books that would help me prepare for my goal of owning a farm and a restaurant. I began delving back into my hobbies and into my passions like crocheting, crafting, gardening, and cooking. I made it a priority to plan my day and to break my big goals down into smaller, more manageable portions. This vegetative growth or self-love that I discussed is very important, but showing the same self-love that I'm developing towards myself is equally as important to share with others. Now that I've talked about vegetative love, I'll discuss how to cultivate generative growth within yourself. Now, generative growth is a form of plant growth in which plants focus on reproduction, so flowers and seeds. This to me is fertilizing that same type of love that I have for myself for others. So, one way that I do that is by volunteering my time in ways that help others, whether that be volunteering at the food pantry, at the homeless shelter, or at Marbles Kids Museum. I try to be a good friend to myself and to others, and I'm always providing a listening ear for others. I try to be a light to everyone, whether that is smiling at strangers or giving random people genuine compliments. This is the fruit that our lives can produce. These seeds of positivity that we can share with others that find its roots in our own self-love. So, my life is definitely like a garden. And as I wrap up, I want you to remember that it's a journey, and it can get difficult. But as Calvin Coolidge said, all growth depends on activity. There is no development physically or intellectually without effort, and effort means work. And with this effort that we put into growth, we have to be intentional. Let's review. Personal growth is an essential aspect of living a fulfilling life. It requires us to tend to our inner selves with the same care and attention that we would give to a garden, nurturing it to reach its full potential. Just as plants need to be pruned and tended to overcome obstacles to thrive, we must too work to overcome our own challenges and to cultivate a capacity for self-love and love for others. And as Audrey Hepburn famously said, to plant a garden is to invest in tomorrow, and I hope that each one of you does today.